Okay, so the 1.0.0 update came out. What's changed with the perks? If you want to see the full patch notes, go check it out on the official Decaying Winter Discord, but for this video I'm going to be going down the list that Taro has posted in the patch notes and testing them in the live game. Then maybe give some thoughts and some use cases for such changes. So first, Survivalist. They received 50 scrap at the start compared to the usual 10 scrap that most perks usually receive. Pretty nice buff, since you can more easily craft stuff for the early game. I won't go over the other things this entails, but you can imagine. For Damned, they nerfed them. They now get 0 scrap instead of 10, because we hate Damned apparently. For Hivemind, they removed the faster shoves. I don't think I need to show or explain why that's not really impactful this patch. Riskrunner now has a 10% movement speed penalty, probably due to his big funny gun. Now Tickspider. The blue ticks follow enemies faster. If you for some reason never played Tickspider, when you hold F, you throw out a blue Tickspider that will track the nearest enemies instead of standing there blowing up when something is near, like the red tick. The major changes to Tickspider is that you can throw these little guys further and that you can now hurt yourself for 15 damage with these Tickspiders, whether it would be a red or blue tick as shown in these clips. They also made Tickspider only have a 5% movement speed penalty. They also nerfed Tickspider's recoil control to 40%, which is still kind of insane, since with Professional, you can have the ACAM shoot like a laser beam. Tickspider also now has slower shoves. Crosslink now doesn't have 60 stamina. Thank God, because this man could not jump more than twice in a row before. If you didn't know, you couldn't jump unless you had 31 or more stamina. He also basically takes 20% more damage, which is actually like 23.333333% repeating, which is apparently the same, I think, compared to the last update. Which simply means that this 30 damage J-Tech Raider now does 37 damage to you. Crosslink also now has a 10% melee debuff, which means a 20 damage melee hit does 18 damage. I could go more into detail with how defense and damage buffs work, but that's an entirely different video and this script is already long as it is. Another thing they added for Crosslink was that they don't trigger traps when they run over them, meaning that you can run over pungies without getting hurt, or activate flare, or dynamite traps. Now for Blitzer, he apparently can no longer damage teammates with his ability, but you can still hurt yourself. Blitzer now also gets the same explosive damage buff of 30% for non-ability damage like Tickspider. Blitzer also has no damage resistance now, and his arm can break. Truly unfortunate. Artillerist now has a faster ability charge. Here is a comparison from before and after the patch. The ability now one-shots any non-boss enemy, so that means you can kill anything with a headshot as long as it's not Yosef, Sledge Queen, Lumi, High Priest, and whatever they add on later. This means you can now one-shot cultists in the head, which you could not do before. Another cool thing they added is that the ability can now hit multiple targets, which is 2 at max. Arbiter gets a slight nerf to his melee damage bonus, still being higher than Berserker for some unlawful reason, but it went from 35 to 30%. Executioner's ability recharge speed is increased, meaning when he takes off his goggles, it recharges back to 100% faster. I don't have any cups from the previous version to compare it to, so just trust the patch notes for now. Executioner now also has faster shoves, and here's a comparison. Drifter now has a longer duration on his ability, allowing you to get in the 3 lights and 1 heavy more consistently. What also changed was the left click of the ability doing 100 damage. So now you can finally one-shot those silly scavs that are above 90 HP, like the Knuckle Duster Scavs, who have 100 HP. The ability's right click also now heals for 15 HP. For Vagabond, he gets a slight nerf by his dog tags, healing only for 5 each now when you hold down F, instead of what I think was 7 or 8 HP before. As you can see in this clip, I have 3 tags and I heal from 35 to 50, which is 15 HP. Berserker no longer has the scavenge less ammo debuff, which means he can finally get the full amount of ammo off the ground loot. Berserker also now can't have his arm broken, but in exchange for a 65% longer reload time. Immolator now has a 15% longer reload, which is sorta negligible. Apparently now, he can use his ability to get rid of bleed, but not artery. And for the last one in the notes, just understand he receives less overheat on his ability when he gets shot. Zealot changes are fairly substantial, with one of the big ones being his Riot Shield mode. For those who have never played Zealot, when you hold F, you can go into Riot Shield mode, and to simply put, you can parry every single parryable melee hit in this mode. This means any melee attack that isn't something like Sledge Queen's explosion attacks. The change made it so that the ability charge barely depletes when getting hit by said melee attacks. For this demonstration, I'm going to be using a Riot Shield against Sledge Queen. Keep in mind, you cannot block her long shots or shell shots, but you can shove her with the shield. You can keep this ability up for a really long time, as you can see. Now you can also see the 4 melee scavs. The ability timer really just does not get depleted by the melee attacks. Although for guns, not so much. There is also a buff to the turret, which is now able to take more bullets from stuff, and has increased damage per second due to the fire rate. This allows it to kill Sledge Queen easier with some extra damage, and even clear Knights 3 and 4 easily, considering the extra fire rate, slowing down scavs even more, and the extra range allowing it to hit further consistently. Although in exchange for all of that, you do have a slower light attack speed now. For Prophet, they removed his crafting cost penalty, which only applied to when you were using the crude crafting system on stone or wood. Their HP is also reduced back down to 100, and the melee penalty is now increased to 15%, which means that a 20 damage melee hit will now do 17 damage. Apostle is now considered a frontliner, denoted by a hexagon around the perk. The movement speed penalty is now 10%, which is better than before. Apostle also now has a 50% increased recoil penalty. Apostle only has 100 stamina now, cannot have their arms or legs broken, and has a 10% damage resistance buff to all non-true damage attacks. For his weapon, it only takes 15 damage when he pulls out his hand instead of 25, and he only now takes 5 damage when throwing the stakes. A quality of life change is that you can now see your Shadowhunter's health and who owns it. Now, the most impactful buff is that the Shadowhunters that you spawn can now heal up to 20 HP from the stakes that you throw at the enemies. The caveat is that they need to be marked by you, and the Shadowhunter has to kill the marked target in time. As you can see in this clip, my Shadowhunter's HP actually went up from when I started the wave. Sovereign now takes 14 damage when he uses his ability when it's not at 100% charge, along with the stamina nerf from 100 to 50. So that means he now has 150 stamina instead of 200. Mindflayer spiders no longer instantly disappear when hitting the ground when holding F. Not much, but a win's a win. Okay, I'm tired of making this video now, bye.